Thank you, Bluejacket Toastmasters, for inviting me, for having me here. It is my first opportunity to speak with you, and I'm looking forward to learning so much about this organization and about what you do. You guys are like the gold standard when it comes to public speaking, right?
Yes.
And so all over the internet, there are various speakers from around the world talking about various things. And that's why I learned a little bit about Toastmasters. When them inviting me, I thought, well, let me get on to research this organization. You guys are amazing. You do some great things. Yeah, I think about all the things that went on in my life as I was a kid, when I was growing up. So if you take a moment, you think about some of the first things you heard from your parents about safety. Since that's our topic, June is National Safety Month.
Yes.
And so we're really focusing on around the country, people are talking about being safe. They're having symposiums and conferences and opportunities just to kind of table talk some roundtables, some safety issues. I think about when I was a kid. My parents would always say certain things that wanted me to be safe. They wanted me to make sure I was doing things the right way when I was kind of out of their sight, and especially when I was in their sight. I was, always trying to do good, be good.
Yes.
Can you think about some things in your life that your parents or someone told you early on about being safe? Some advice that you received. Some of the things you think about, some of the things that maybe come to my mind are things like, look both ways before you cross the street, right? That was a good one, because they wanted to make sure you didn't just go bolting out in the street and you'd get hit by a car. How about, I don't know, maybe something like, choose your friends carefully. Choose your friends carefully. Don't trust everyone. I remember my mom always, you can't trust everyone. I thought, well, why not? 9 or 10 years old, I would be able to trust all the people that I know, right? No, can't trust everyone. Now, I'm going to tell you a little story about being led by someone who was bold, but not safe. As a kid growing up in St. Louis, we'd ride our bikes everywhere. We'd have the best time going from neighborhood to neighborhood. We'd try to go as far away from our house as we could. But in our neighborhood, there was this church. And this church had a large, it was like a wrought iron fence. It was huge. And sometimes they'd leave it open. Well, this church had a large parking lot, and you had to go uphill to get to that top of the parking lot. Well, we had a friend that said, let's take our bikes up there and just ride down this hill as fast as we can. Well, that's okay, but at the end of that parking lot is a sidewalk. And at the end of that sidewalk is a little grassy area. And then you got the curb, then you got a street. So we ride our bikes up to the top of the hill and say, well, go down here, you're gonna take a right before you get to the street, and just kind of, we're gonna go real fast and take a right and you'll stay on the sidewalk. So we did that. Sometimes we hit a parked car, which is no fun. We're like, oh, let's do something different. So well, here we go. Let's do this. Just before you get to the sidewalk, you can hit your brake a little bit. Hit your brake a little bit, and that way you can negotiate that turn pretty good. And so we did that, like 4 or 5 of us, right? So you go down this hill, we take this right, and we, okay, pretty good. We didn't have any accident. We didn't flip over, hurt ourselves at that point in time. Well, that was fun. That was great. Not too safe though. But a couple days later, this same friend, this guy was always like the leader of the group, right? The same friend came up with like a big 4x4 sheet of cardboard. So he'd take this cardboard and say, look, we're gonna go back to the church. We're gonna put this cardboard like halfway down the hill. And when you get on this, you're gonna start at the top of the hill, ride your bike as fast as you can. As soon as you hit that cardboard, hit your brakes. Well, let's see you do it. So he did it. He got up on top of the hill. He's going down this hill. He gets right on the cardboard, which is the middle of the hill, hits his brakes, slides. Because you can't control that bike once you're sliding on this cardboard. He slides past the sidewalk, past the grass, over the curb, out into the street. So we're like, oh, people are honking their horns and yelling, like, it was that close. This guy was that close. See, all right, he comes back and says, now it's your turn. We're like, no, I don't think so. And he was that kind of kid who was like a leader. He's like, man, if you don't do this, you're done. You're just not, we're not gonna hang out with him. So we started thinking, okay, let's just do it. Let's just do it and get out of the way. Keep him quiet. So we all got to the top of the hill, go down this hill, get on the cardboard, hit our brakes, right on the track. Horns are honking, people are yelling, and luckily none of us got hit. None of us got hurt. The church found out about it, so they wound up locking the gate. So we couldn't do that anymore. So if you think about some things that happen by chance, some things that happen by intention, some things that happen just by some divine intervention. So we were thinking, there is no way any of us should have survived that little fun time. But we all did. And we all lived to tell about it. Safety, when it comes to being a kid, that's not always your first concern. I realized that with my children. My children were as innovative when it comes to having fun and doing cool things as anybody else. And they would always say, Dad, let's do this. Dad, watch this. Watch this. I'm going to jump off this step. Okay, 3 steps high. No problem. You keep on doing that. I'm going to jump on the deck. Well, no, here comes the problem. Here comes the problem. I always told you, don't jump off the deck. What do they do when we're not watching? They go directly to what you told them not to do, and they do it. As we get older, we realize the importance of safety. We realize the importance of listening to people who have power over us, control over our lives. And sometimes those influences really shape and mold our character, who we are. When you think about what are your kids doing when you're not watching, when you're not with them, when you don't have eyes on them, and you're hoping they're safe, and you're always saying, don't do this or don't do that, you have to kind of give them a reason, right? As adults, we want a reason for why we're not supposed to do something. We want to understand rationally what it is that we're not supposed to do and why we're not supposed to do it. Kids are the same way. Kids are exactly the same way. You have to, my little granddaughter who is 3 years old, she'll do what I tell her to do, but she's like, well, why, Grandpa? Because I love you and I want you to be safe. So don't touch the stove. It's hot. One hot's not enough. It's hot. She's like, Grandpa, hot. As she gets older, I know she's going to wonder why I told her these things. As long as she doesn't burn her hand or burn her fingers or injure herself in some other major way, she'll understand why I had to set these parameters, why her mother and her father sets these parameters to keep them safe. That's the same thing we do every day. Safety is so vitally important. And I think about, as a police officer, I know a little bit about safety, and I've learned a little bit over my 25, 28 years in law enforcement about being safe and understanding safety. One of the first things we tell young cadets and young officers is, be careful, go home at the end of your shift. We want you to go home at the end of your shift. Not at the expense of being overly aggressive when it comes to dealing with a subject, someone you're talking to, or someone you're going to perhaps take into custody. But keep in mind, you've been trained. You know exactly what to do. You know exactly how much pressure or force to use in your apprehension process. Do that. Anything more than that can become an issue. So that issue arises a lot of times. We hear about it in the news. We see it. The media will take it and just run wild with this, with a news story about an officer who was aggressive with a subject, an officer who perhaps did some things that he or she wasn't supposed to do, went above and beyond the call of duty. And that makes people think, well, how well trained are these officers anyway? An officer is as trained and as well trained as he or she wants to be. The training is the same for everybody, but not everybody applies it the same way. It's an interesting dynamic where one person will feel like they're under pressure. One person will feel like it's kind of a challenge, and the next person may see absolutely nothing wrong with it. Parameters are key. Parameters are crucial when it comes to making rational decisions, bold decisions. You have to communicate that with people sometimes. You have to tell them what they're supposed to do and what they're not supposed to do. Even adults need those parameters. They need to understand the parameters there in place for their safety and their well-being. And again, once they understand that, they have no problem with adapting it and applying it to their lives. I had back in 2000, there was an officer. He was a 33-year veteran police officer. We were actually riding the same district. It was St. Patrick's Day night, 2000. You get a call when I come on shift to meet the officers at this house. They were already at this house. They had a barricaded situation. This officer had been there before. He had been to this house. He'd answered call there, and he effectively put an end to the call. It brought it to a safe resolution. Did an amazing job. This time was a little bit different. This subject of this house decided he was not going to come out. He was not going to cooperate. So the officer goes in with a couple of other officers, and they're trying to get him to come out of the house. He didn't want to come out of the house. My partner and I, another officer, we were downstairs outside holding down the perimeter. All of a sudden we hear a couple shots. Bang, bang, bang. Over the radio, somebody's blaring. Officer down, officer down. We need help in here, officer down. We run in the house. My district mate is up there. He'd been shot 3 times. He's laying down. We pick him up, carry him outside. Once we get him outside, we turn him over to the paramedics. The paramedics are treating him. They take him off to the hospital. We're going to back we have to go back to the house. Subject's still in there. We go back in the house to perhaps take custody of the subject if at all possible. All of a sudden, the house explodes. And if you've ever been in a house that exploded, and I hope to God you never have and you never do, but all you see is like the air is waving. It was the most bizarre thing I'd ever seen in my life. The air was, you could actually see the air waving. What he had done, his parents were on oxygen, and the suspect, after he killed the officer, he ignited the oxygen tanks. He just shot the oxygen tanks, which caused the fire. Eventually, ultimately, the house burned down. And he died in it because we evacuated the house once it exploded. We're out. Fire department's there. They're putting water on it. That house burned to the ground. You talk about safety. You talk about focusing on going home at the end of your shift. This officer, 33 years on, he was going to retire in 3 weeks. He had 3 more weeks to work. He actually only started working that midnight shift for the 5% differential. The 5% differential that he was going to make over that 3-week period. He said, okay, I'm going to finish my career after 33 years working midnights. I'll just do it. Yeah. And you have to ask yourself, and you know the answer. If he had it to do all over again, he would take that back. But we don't know. We don't know what lies in store for us. We don't know what's around the corner. Safety is paramount to our existence. Being safe, having a safe mindset, having the attitude of being careful and cautious, not just for our own well-being, but for the well-being of our friends, our family, especially this month. This month is going to be hit hard. June is National Safety Month, and people are going to be, like I said earlier, they're going to be focused, they're going to be mindful of being safe in unsafe situations or unfamiliar situations. And that's what we want. We want that message out there. Those things, bad things happen, they change policy. They change procedures. They change the way we live and the way we do business. After that incident with the officer, our whole way of responding to barricaded situations and hostage situations changed almost overnight. Now, and if you'll notice, and you'll hear it around the country in various situations, hostage situations, the officers back out, SWAT teams called in. Every time. Every time. Why is that? For the safety of the officers. For the safety of everyone concerned. For the safety of the people in the house. Because the SWAT teams are trained to get people out safely as best they can. That changed the way policing in situations like that progress. from that moment on. Our policies and procedures change, and it doesn't look like they're ever going to go back the way climbers on the violent climbs on the rise. So a couple of things that you can maybe take from that. When people get in critical situations, they need someone to come alongside of them and just say, hey, I know what you're dealing with. I know what you're going through. Let me help you. It's not just about physical safety. Physical safety is ultimately important. It's about emotional safety. Your emotions, controlling your emotions so your emotions don't control you. It's about psychological safety, breathing, being relaxed in the midst of the storm, in the midst of the chaos. Just being able to calm yourself, relax your shoulders, breathe. Some of the things will get you through a traumatic situation, a chaotic situation. You may not think so. You may not think in the heat of the storm that you can actually do that, but you have to be mindful. And that's our goal, to help people become mindful in the storm. You can be relaxed in the morning when you wake up and you have your coffee, your tea, and life's good. You're relaxed. You're sitting on your deck or you're sitting in your living room, reading a book, and life's good. Oh, but what happens when someone cuts you off in traffic? What happens when somebody steals your car? What happens when somebody that you don't know is knocking on your door? Now the adrenaline's rushing, the adrenaline's flowing, you're pumped up, you don't know what's going to happen. How do you calm yourself? In order to calm yourself, you have to realize that you will be okay. You have to have a mindset that I can be okay, I can get through this, I can push through this, I'm going to breathe through this, tackle the problem, the situation head on. That is what we teach people this. We teach young officers and we teach young cadets and we teach people in our church. Stay calm, relax in traumatic situations. Stay calm, relax in chaotic situations. Stay calm and relax and just breathe through it. As policies change and as people change and evolve, we grow. We grow into an understanding that we need to be psychologically safe. We need to have somebody, we need to open our lives and be vulnerable so someone can come along beside us and talk us through, talk us down, and talk with us. Sometimes all they have to do is just sit there. Just sit there, don't make a sound, and just relax. We need to know somebody's there. As a chaplain, one of our goals is to make sure that we show up in critical situations. When people are at their worst, when they're having their worst day, when they're going through some critical instance and they don't know how to process it, we go with them. In case of a death, we walk through the process of selecting the casket, arranging the funeral, doing the funeral procession, and doing the entire program. We do that in the case of a line of duty death, or an officer has a family member who's passed, or a suicide. You never know what people are going to go through. So we make sure that we're with them. We make sure that they don't have anything in their hearts or their minds that's going to cause them to harm themselves or someone else. If they do, they need to have a safe place, a safe space to come to talk to. These young officers today are dealing with a lot of critical situations. They're dealing with stuff at home. They don't have a lot of life experience. And now you put them in the streets and you tell them to go and fix this house. Domestic situations are some of the most dangerous situations that you can ever respond to. Whether they're in an office situation, a church situation, at home, domestic violence situations bring about an untold, it just piles on to people and they don't know how to process, they don't know how to get out of it. So what we do is show up and we help them talk through it, we help them walk through it, and we help them to realize that you're going to be okay. We don't want to just get you through this situation to get you back to where you were. We want to get you through the situation so you can propel yourself to the next level. Whatever that looks like, whatever that next level looks like, but you can't go back to the situation that you were already in. If you do, we've accomplished nothing, and neither have you. So safety when it comes to situational awareness, crucial. It's key. You me, every one of us, we have to find a way to be a refuge for somebody that's going through a traumatic situation. And here's the question to you. Are you a refuge? Are you a refuge for someone in your life? Are you a refuge for someone that you work with? Someone going through turmoil or strife or troubles? Can you be a safe place? Can you be a confidential space? Can you be a caring, understanding, and loving person? The physical safety is crucial, the emotional safety, the psychological safety, and the spiritual safety. The spiritual safety is key. Are you trusting in God? Are you believing that God can answer your prayers? Are you faithful enough to know that things can change? So if you're a believer, then hopefully that's where you are. You found yourself to be a refuge for other people in need, because you yourself have found refuge in something bigger than yourself. So tonight, as we progress on, as we go forward, I want to thank you again for allowing me to come and just talk and share a little bit about my life, about where I've been and where I hope to go. If there's anyone that has a doubt in their heart and their mind that they can't be there for someone, you're wrong, because you can. You never know how far you will go or you can go until you call to go there. So thank you very much for having me, inviting me in. I hope that
Yes, thank
you have
you.
a great day today. Thank you guys so much.